Here we go. This time KT on the blue side. Crown doing a bit of meditation before the game.
KSV not allowing any Gallios, no Gallios allowed in this matchup. Will it finally be time for that Crown victor? Will we see something like that come through in this game? Mid lane champion pool being thinned out would lend credence to that idea, as KT seems to want to first pick Ezreal and not leave anything up for the opposition.
It'd be so cool if they banned out Tristana as well. That's another big pick for Ruler. That would be really putting all your eggs in one basket in terms of the banning phase. Just saying, okay, we're not going to allow Ruler to do anything in this game.
See if KSV wants to just disrupt and ban Ezreal on red side. They will. So we will not see a super thinning out, but a lot of the tier 1 AD carries, now that Kog'Maw is seen as way down, especially in terms of solo queue win rate. He fell off a cliff after losing about 30% of his damage with the W nerf. On this patch, and yeah, they're just going for it. Xayah banned away. First pick Tristana, a possibility. First pick Caitlyn, more likely, you could say. Will we see Caitlyn versus Tristana as an AD carry matchup? I know someone's saying the word Jinx. It's me. We're not going to see Jinx, sadly.
Yeah, you were the only one, Papa, for sure.
Oh.
GP gets banned out here, so no bank plank in this game.
A lot available, but if you're going to ban away that many AD carries, I guess you have to first pick an AD carry. Still a lot available to KSV on the red side. Sejuani was who I was going to mention, is the most contested champion in the LCK, and that will not end. We'll see a game where she fell through picks and bans in our first series, but not here.
Death's doing his thing. Every time he picks Caitlyn, we see the same highlight reel.
Do we just see Malzahar Braum locked in by KT? They could just run it back if they want.
I'd be like, yeah, good for you. I mean, I understand, but no, I don't want to see it, Papa, if that's what you're asking me. Braum is going to get locked in, and will we see it?
This would be fun, seeing him jump on the LeBlanc again, but it is going to be a change, an unforced change, but a change nonetheless. Going to jump onto Ryze. Going to be a lot less mid lane focus, less chance of there being, say, a Kha'Zix, for example, in the jungle. You talked about the Tristana will be left open. And Tristana does struggle in lane against the Caitlyn pretty significantly because of the range discrepancy in the early game. So it will allow KT to have just such a robust duo lane for KSV to deal with. So you would say basically already winning bot lane for KT, guaranteed in this scenario, short of Core JJ jumping back to the Zyra. But even that could be thwarted. Looking at the bans, no jungler picked yet for KT Rolster. And there's the Skarner ban.
There it is.
We mentioned that Skarner is seeing a lot of priority in other regions. A lot of Korean junglers are practicing the Skarner. We'll see a ban here. I think we will definitely see it during the course of 8.3.
They're all smiles in the KT booth as that happens. It seems like they're either they really wanted to pick that or they know something that we don't, or they're just like, really? They thought we were going to pick Skarner? Lots of options left available, as that is the only jungle ban out of all the bans that we've seen so far.
I like the Gnar ban on the red side. If they weren't going to take it for QV blind, it seemed so obvious that the Caitlyn, Ryze, and Gnar will be paired for just the most winning lanes and rotations you could ever ask for. So that's a nice denial pick. Well, JJ will have to show us something different. We'll see what he wants to decide in this particular game. Many of the tank supports are up. But what about something that does well against tank supports? An old favorite of Core JJ. It doesn't reinforce the laning phase, but it does reinforce the teamfight phase. They're jumping on the Janna.
Today as well, scorer, give us the snowball. Asking for a snowball. Not sure exactly what they mean. Oh, I guess that must be it.
How about a Sion? We thought that we would see a Sion this series from QV after playing 7 games in a row, but Smed played it once and shows that 1 can be greater than 7. We'll lock it in for just the safest lane ever. And now considering the Kha'Zix anyway, now that they have a true tank in the top side, can still play through mid lane, but the reliability of the Malzahar is down. Will prompt a cleanse instantly from Crown, who thinks, shucks, wish I would have been able to move away from that. KT Coach having a great time in the booth, you're right.
They're all having fun in there.
And how about a non-interactive top lane?
Great.
See if QV can find access to the back line, able to take the Cho'Gath, and front-to-back team fighting looks pretty strong from the side of KSV. With the Cho'Gath, you can just get a Warmogs, ult the Sion, and try to kill the front line. So front-to-back with Janna to peel and Cho'Gath. A lot of options there for the side of KSV, but they never got a front-to-back team fight in game 1. Is there any guarantee they'll get one in game 2? Probably going to be a similar game plan from KT. So a lot of shoving options, pushing bot lane for sure. Getting the Rise unleashed on the map. I expect KT to put even more emphasis into ending the 2v2 laning phase early. Sion is super flexible about lane assignments. The Rise can play side lanes very famously. So nice draft from the side of KT, but KSV just kind of want to do it once more with feeling when it comes to the team fight comp. With Ambition on the lineup, if he gets as much of a leash as Haru was able to get in game 1, who's to say they can't punish KT for things that they were able to get away with in game 1?
Ambition on Sejuani, always a treat to see. We'll see if he can get a win on this. He's 0-1 so far.
Smeb rolling up the sleeves. He's rolling up the sleeves.
I looked up from my desk, I'm like, oh, baby. What's going on here? I must have missed something.
He's rolled up his sleeves, ready for some Sion action. That's how I look like when I play Sion in solo queue as well. That's what I'm going for.
Wearing the sleeveless shirt?
That's what I go for.
Oh, baby.
On the side of KSV, they look very businesslike, but they want to find some smiles. They want to find some momentum. KSV blown apart by SKT. Lost decisively to KT Rolster in game 1. Can they finally turn it around? 4th time of asking.
That's the question. Let's jump into game number 2 and find out. Here we go, jumping into game number 2 of KT versus KSV. That is a cool Janna skin.
See, Lunar Revel, Janna. Good timing on that one. Fits the season. Sion's going for the Lumberjack. He's going for the level 1 Cheesecake as well, by the way.
And Glacial Augment.
Yeah,
well.
First Glacial Augment Sion. The Cheesecake's going to be the more fun thing. He's running straight down bot lane.
Nice.
They've been able to escort into bot lane, entered bot lane early, just to be able to scout for wards, and now the cheese is on. He needs to get to the advanced brush, but it's a good read, actually, by KSV, you'll notice. They're actually straight in. They were probably watching game 1.
No ward needed.
There's Smeb. Run away.
Well, at least he can save his teleport.
He can actually walk top lane, and I think he'll miss. I mean, if you start pushing with Vorpal spikes, you might miss a little bit, but not going to be anything relevant. It's going to teleport to stop that. No pushing allowed on the Sion. Lumberjack Sion in full flight in this game.
He should have held Talish and then TP. He wouldn't have missed anything.
I don't know what to tell you about.
You got to min-max, guys. Come on.
Well, Smeb's just rolling along, doing his Sion thing. But yeah, Glacial Augment Sion. It's a big favorite in solo queue in Korea right now. In game 1, we saw Tal playing the Comet Sion. That's definitely my favorite way to go. And support Sions will always take the Comet for lane phase. But against someone you're never going to kill, like the Cho'Gath, who has unlimited sustain, why not go for even more CC on the Sion? You rank up to, I believe, 55% slow on the auto attacks. And if you know anything about Sion, he has just the bevy of CC to complement basically perma CC status. You're going to be knocked up, stunned, or slowed for the majority of a team fight.
I think it's a good idea to go Glacial Augment here. I mean, even with the Arcane Comet, what are you really going to do against the Cho'Gath?
That's the thing, right? If you have strong sustain, then Comet doesn't do anything. And solo queue, if you're facing a Riven or a Fiora, then perhaps there's more options to play around with something like the Comet. But like I mentioned, like you're cementing against the Cho'Gath, have a bit more CC in your kit, and otherwise things going to be pretty similar, but a lot deeper in the inspiration tree this way. The full information here. This time Deft's going to play with the expectations. That's gone for the Fleet Footwork, so no double unsealed spellbook bot lane for KT.
We're taking a close look at this top lane, as, of course, Score is nearby. Smeb desperately trying to push that one in, as Score is taking the Krugs.
See some biscuits rolling in. A lot more biscuiteer this week is one of the big takeaways when there was the big swap in Runes. The big swap was that the magical footwear was moved to the top tree and traded places with the Biscuiteer. Never saw Biscuiteer really outside of Braum, I think, was the only person who would pick it up earlier, as Ambition was on the Roam bot side. Will be spotted out by a ward here around the Krugs. Big takeaway there for people at home is that before the opportunity cost of giving up something like one of the stopwatch and the free boots, when you went secondary inspiration was too much, but now, given that the choices are one or the other, you're much more kind of priced in to go Biscuit here. It's still very powerful because it basically guarantees laning phase with all the extra regen you get from the 4 Biscuits.
Ooh. Nice dodge there on the Trouble Bubble. That means that Pawn gets a nice chunk of damage. The Q does go wide, but good trading nonetheless from our Rise player in mid.
And Roller's going to need the Biscuits. As I said, this is a very weak 2v2 laning phase for Tristana against Caitlyn Braum. And the Janna wasn't helping. The Janna's greedy, if anything, so definitely not going to be any good news stories for bot side. We're not going to see the Sejuani jungle around it. To be fair, Ambition doesn't really jungle around lanes, but
no,
he's going to do some farming, and let's see how much farm will be denied from Ruler, because he's in a bad way in this matchup.
Well, he's definitely struggling in terms of CS, but
turret health will also start struggling.
Yeah, every time he gets that Biscuit, he's going to be a bit happier.
Mado wants to say hi health, so I actually use the Unbreakable on, of all things, a Zephyr. I guess he doesn't really have to respect.
You gotta do.
Otherwise, what are you using on if you think about it?
Yeah.
So why not?
Ambition, a level above our Kazakhs, who must be pretty close. Score just, it looks like a camp behind Ambition here.
Push, push, push will be the way for KT. They can just monopolize Ambition's time bot side, and it's going to be push, push, push. Top side. A lot of pushing lanes here for the side of KT, and if Crown can have his blue buff stolen away, maybe that's something you want to do as KT, is contest the blue. If he also isn't able to control wave in the mid lane as the Zoe versus Rise, then it's going to be increasing and cascading headaches for the side of KSV. Crown found himself a teleport.
He just went back to buy, though, very recently. We'll see if he even uses the TP here.
Infernal Drake first spawn is happy news for the side of KT. Actually, they're going to look to invest in that soon if we see the perma push bot lane from the Caitlyn.
Mata level 4 in the mid lane. Just Mata things. But not really having much of an impact. Just taking out a control ward, getting some vision down. That's about it.
But with these pushing lanes that we always talk about, sort of thing that in pro play is so important because it gives you options, but as we all know from solo queue, sort of thing that gets you ganked. You know, it's always interesting to talk about pushing lanes because it's so prized in pro play, but in solo queue, often turned against you. The reward here is only if they can actually turn it onto things like the Drake. It is an Infernal first spawn. It's all about what you get from the map pressure you're creating. As it's going to be Gathering Storm, John, the most scaling ever.
It's so interesting because the Gathering Storm, yes, it'll help out. He'll get a better shield, but I feel like in a lot of these, when people go sorcery deep, it's kind of funny because the other options in the sorcery tree at that level are not great. And so you just see so much Gathering Storm when they go that deep, even on a Janna pick.
The Janna's not scorching anyone because every time she walks up to Zephyr someone, she's going to take a huge amount of trade damage. KT see that there's 2 control wards invested bot side to stop the early Drake from going down, but Def's actually going to solo invade to put down vision with the blue buff spawning the next 10-20 seconds. I mentioned that could be a great place to visit if you're KT.
The Ghost coming on in from Crown here. Just picking that one up. Nice little bit of trading. And that does mean that Pawn, with no more stacks on his refillable, is just going to have to go back.
Does mean the blue buff will almost certainly be claimed by KSV, so a nice chunk there to get them something.
Might as well get something in this kind of game, Papa.
Hey man, the Gathering Storm Janna will be genius if we just keep farming forever and no sort of aggression is actually enacted. Always the chance. Very passive game 1, all things considered.
Game 2 not really lending itself to be too different just yet.
He's taking the landing for the game plan and the approach to bot side. It's going to be Kazakhs, Rise, and Sion making guest appearances, trying to end this laning phase, or at least take the Drake. They're turning on to Ruler, but it's a pretty good damage trade for the Tristana lane.
Oh yeah,
look at that.
Very nice, and really just happened because of that control ward fight. And in the end, KSV's bot lane win. Def staying a little bit too long and just eats the full amount.
It just felt like a pretty poor trade. They didn't have eyes on ambitions. They didn't want to use anything too early. Just ended up not using anything. Very safe use of the sweep, but does find score.
Yeah. It's always funny when you sweep a brush and you see the just red outline of whatever's in there.
Especially someone as elusive as Kha'Zix.
No rush on the Moby Boots this time, but we'll probably get them again. And speaking of that, okay, Crown taking a little bit of damage. Oh, I got a little bit too excited. Forgot this was KT.
We already learned that you can apologize for that later, and it seems to have a 100% win rate on the apology.
True.
Maybe save that for a more important series.
Yeah.
But at least things are stabilized from KSV's perspective. They actually force her back out of a Caitlyn lane, which if you're Tristana Braum, you kind of feel like you won the lottery when you actually force the enemy AD carry to respond to you.
Yes. Good news for KSV. Caitlyn did miss one creep, 1 minion in that wave. Sad times.
I saw a Gathering Storm proc on Deft. He's Gathering Storm as well.
Do you Gathering Storm? Do you gather any storm from time to time, Papa?
I mean, if Rage Storm with a bad solo queue game.
Oh,
if you're talking about the actual rune, infrequently. As you say, sometimes there's just nothing better, so why not?
I feel like so many solo queue games are decided in the first 20 minutes that I nearly always go Scorch. Nearly every time. I actually can't remember the last time I went Gathering Storm. Maybe when I was playing Veigar in 8.1. It's not really a thing I do anymore. I've moved on. Seems like some of the pro players haven't. It makes sense in a series like this, I guess.
We're watching top lane. The observer doesn't know where else to show us things. Look at that wave clear. It's massive.
So, can you give me the analysis on why he decided not to kill that minion?
He just wanted to lull the enemy into false sense of security.
I see. It's the highest level of play here at the LCK.
Everyone be farming. We're playing Farmville here, guys. I know it says League of Legends at the bottom of the screen, but it's Farmville.
I know it says 8.3 at the bottom of the screen, but I don't know what to tell you. The game hasn't changed, at least from what we've seen here in Korea.
There's only one stopwatch in this game, and yet no action.
So where does the problem really lie?
Scaling is too strong, is what we've learned here. Maybe Gathering Storm needs to be nerfed.
I don't know. I mean, we were talking about the Baron and the Elder getting buffed.
Future patches.
What's the news on that? Is that going to be an 8.4 or?
It's either 8.4 or 5. I'm not 100% sure. I know the notes are out. I believe that does patch to live in the next couple of days, but don't have any confirmation on that. Just my guess.
How about some 20-minute Nunu Banner of Command rushes and going for Baron? I feel like you can get away with it once. Probably not even once, because it would happen in solo queue first. And then they'd just be like, no, I know exactly what you're doing, and just shut it down.
I think one thing they're trying to do is you see some of the tentative changes about the warding trinket. This pawn is going to be turned onto, but score, of course, is going to be here as well. They're looking to remove Tracker's Knife to reduce the amount of vision in the game. That'll either work really well or really badly when it comes to promoting action.
They'll be like, I'm too scared. I have to play more passively.
It does mean the LPL games will be more aggressive and the LCK games might be more passive, which is bad news.
Great. Well, I certainly do love watching the LPL, let me tell you.
Sadly conflicts with us most of the time.
Yeah.
But KSV games never going to be the highest standard bearer of action, unfortunately. It's not the way they play. Slow and Steady wins the race so far as Ruler decides to take all of his health bar for free.
Well, they're desperately trying to make action happen. As Score says, hey, we got an opportunity here on Takori JJ. There's the knockup, nicely done by Mata. Looking for just a bit more damage. There it is, first blood. Goes over to Score. TP's gonna cancel out. Zoe actually coming in and Smeb finishing it up.
They want to finish the turret as well. Smeb has decided this laning phase has gone on long enough. Gonna turn on to the Drake first. They want to get bonus objectives, stop the delay so far on the side of KSV. Who knew a teleport would be the answer, as Smeb, of course, can laugh at damage for now. Missile Mask already
really
complete.
Yeah.
At least Ambition is trading. He's attempting to take the Rift Herald as an answer for the Drake. If you remember game 1, Haru was giving away first the Rift Herald for free, and then also was outroamed for the Drake bot side. So we're going to see the replay here. Score was able to get in here. It took a long time to actually creep through the brush, but came in, first rotation there. The Mata hitting the ultimate there might have actually been related to the knockback that came through, but Score had flash up. He gets the kill. Teleport completed, the channel completed just to get the Infernal. Infernal with how strong this team is in terms of AD scaling and just in general damage scaling with 3 true carries. Can't be denied. No turret health is lost, and we'll see how the Rift Herald is used by Ambition and KSV.
Well, we've seen some poor ones. We've seen some fantastic ones. But in a game this passive, I feel like they're going to be reaching at straws to find some damage on a turret, as every KT turret is currently at or near full health.
And remember that in a game this passive, Ambition is now there in a pretty even game. Similar to game 1, in fact more even here in game 2, and potentially can bring that tactical nous that seemed to be lacking in the previous games. They do have Ambition. They are in a position to actually continue trading. Now they're walking up. Looked like it was going to be the Rift Herald summon, but it's going to clear out some vision. We'll see what measurable difference we get in game 2 here from KSV.
Smite comes in. They want to collapse onto this here, but CoreJJ in a position to disengage. You notice Pawn going forward, but he gets stunned on up. Ultimate sails totally wide as Pawn is able to flash out of the way of that one. Smeb eating a nice paddle start of the face, and TP is coming in. They want to convert onto this to flash forward, but can they actually get onto it? They're going to get Mata knocked him into the air, but he stands beside Deft, and the heal comes in. It's not going to be enough just yet. Ruler going forward, and Zoe trying, but the Unbreakable at the last second is going to save their life. Does open up the Rift Herald to be summoned. Meanwhile, Smeb up in the top lane, ignoring everything. Yeah,
so proxying the wave a bit by Score, but not going to do massive amounts. Might see Smeb roam down. He could just ult mid lane to try to disrupt this. Don't want to lose this out of mid lane turret, and just Smeb leaving lane means the Rift Herald's not going to get maximum value. The Rift Herald trade for Elder doesn't get anything other than a big chunk out of mid lane. And QV felt that frustration that most Cho'Gath players find. If you're not getting a flank teleport, you're probably not getting in the fight against a Braum.
Let's take a look at the replay.
This was really, really aggressive by Pawn. Basically got the call that his team would rotate first as 2, and then he needed to basically initiate with his face. That's all you can really do this early in the game as Rise. Def takes a huge chunk. Then you see the teleport coming through. First a trap under it. Mata tries to interrupt. It's the trap. But Stand Beside Me still available. And from there, actually had the Unbreakable back up to interrupt the Paddle Star. So no one goes down. A bit of a chunk on the top side answering the mid lane chunk. And we reassess with still no significant lead between both teams.
You're talking about significant leads. Looks like they're exactly even on gold, Papa Smithy. So no lead at all for either of these teams. I mean, of course, you can delve deeper. You can look at compositions and what does it mean. Who wants to take it later, but
again, my
very close so
initial impact of Game 1 and Game 2's draft is that I do like KSV's draft in the late game because they fight front to back so easily. It cannot be understated what Cho'Gath is kind of like a cheat sheet to a 5v5 fight because he just ults the tank and then the tank dies even if he's the Scion. Trying to return to the mid lane here is a nice move from KSV. They do finish off this mid lane outer turret. Caitlyn's pushing in bot side. We'll get a lot of damage onto this turret as well. But it's not even going to be a full trade, as with the Janna passive, they're able to get back to lane pretty quickly.
Yeah, nicely done on the roam there. They had some good coverage of the river, some control wards, so they were able to sneak their way in there and push it on.
And KSV have been able to get away with this duo lane more confidently than you'd imagine. Janna's role against tank support is usually to disengage them, so you think, okay, Janna, great answer to Alistair, surely a great answer to Braum, and in many ways the answer is yes, but it was supposed to be about Braum just zoning for Caitlyn to take free trade damage onto Ruler, but also turret HP. That hasn't really transpired in the way you would imagine. The end result is that Ruler and Deft are equal on farm. The Janna is going to be very useful in disengaging as the game goes on. And first tower of the game does go the way of KSV, so far so good.
Yeah, certainly looking a lot better for them this time around. So There's only been 1 kill so far in 20 minutes, but you notice the rotation here this time from KT. Has good respect there from KSV. Not going to get caught. Part of the reason why we don't see a lot of kills is just great vision play and respect out of both teams, as there is the trade in the turret going over to KT as they get the slight lead here in gold.
Ever so slight, like you mentioned. Just 400 gold here is the lead for KT. No plans are on the top side, so invariably the only turret damage is done by minions when the recall times are a bit staggered. Look at that gold lead. It's massive. It's a 1,000 scale, guys. That's why it looks relevant, but it's not. Smoke TV having to find creative ways to make it look like a seesaw game. It's been a snore game, actually.
Yeah. Well, it is
Another
an Infernal Drake, which if K2 was able to pick up 2, it would definitely help them out in terms of their own scaling. But KSV definitely want to deny this. We'll see if they can.
Late recall by Score is something to talk about. KSV have to teleport early because they don't actually have a jungler here to contest it.
And they want to put the pressure on. Ambition trying to get this low, saving that passive for the burst damage.
Cho'Gath can always feast this as well, so KSV have all the cards here, it feels like. They haven't bought enough time, KT Rolls, to get Score involved.
Oh, the engage on in, but he hits Braum. Perfect positioning there from Mata to make sure it doesn't happen. Score from behind, looking to get a little bit frisky, maybe slow some people and get an assassination onto someone, but not going to happen here.
He actually buffs the Righteous Glory to try to kill Smeb.
Wow, even the flash in response. Good respect once again, and
good pings here. They know where Kha'Zix is. He was in a ward. KSV can just return. They haven't used too many tools to try to make this happen.
Look at Pawn in the bottom lane at the same time, putting pressure on bot side. A small maneuver, but could turn into something bigger. KSV a little bit, you know,
that is turning on to Cuvée.
Cuvée is just all alone here. He's not going to be able to get any help from his teammates. The heal comes in, and he flashes at the very end, but it's not enough to make sure that he lives here. Now the damage coming out onto Ambition. The stun from the Braum is going to be able to pick up the kill, a double kill, going over to Score in the end of it all.
And the formation there from KSV, the defensive play, usually world standard. Cuvée was found all alone on the Cho'Gath. You don't have Righteous Glory. You're not as tanky as you think you are this early into the game. They will lose the second Infernal, despite holding all the cards not a minute and a half ago. And all KSV has come to push down mid lane. Not even a turret to take there. They took that one earlier. KT Rolster need these Infernals to be able to match what seems like an outdraft in terms of pure 5v5 later. We got something close to a 5v5 at the start of all of this, but it was disengaged. Ambition's ultimate into the Unbreakable was a bit of a thinking emoji, but then Cuvé's just all alone. Like, he's going for a bit of a walk. We Australians call this a walkabout, but the walkabout was found pain. The heal came in, and he thought he could flash away, but Kha'Zix able to follow with the W, and it's a second kill for Kha'Zix on the end of this. He was actually the one to mop up, Ambition, who had no escape route at the end of all of this, so even the things that KSV has always been good at, which is defensive play, reinforced with Ambition, reinforced with about as passive a first 20 minutes can be, are falling apart, and that's what form is all about, you know? We do think that KSV will eventually turn around this season. I don't think anyone is saying that KSV, you know, is letting their playoff hopes slip away, but they were shooting higher. You know, the storyline of this season was the world champions have never won an LCK split. I think what you need to understand is that the meta evolves over a split. We get multiple patches. We started on 8.1, we'll be on 8.4 before you know it. And KSV has always been a streaky team, even if you think, hey, play passive, that's the way you play. That hasn't been enough for KSV to have the consistency in his crown.
Trying to go 1v1, and that turns into a 2v1 real quick when he got them OP boots. Kha'Zix, who was 3-0 before, now he's 4-0 with double Infernal. Score beginning to pop off a bit.
Exactly. Score is going to be ahead of the clock on Kha'Zix. Maybe we'll see some aggressive Kha'Zix play to being a bit of a bystander in game one. They can't really push up to finish this. The Tesrani ult is up, but we know there's no one else there.
Yeah, they're definitely going to push this one in. Another turret going the way of KT. All it took was one team fight, and all of a sudden we get some more action and a game that's sliding ever so slightly in KT's favor.
It's another case of someone being out of position and being assassinated Nice play from Pawn. So much patience. Would have called in the jungler before he went for his opening salvo with his W. They were able to complete the kill. Kha'Zix now is going to have 2 lethality items before you know it. Still not going to do any damage to the Cho'Gath, but plenty of threat onto the other members, specifically the Janna. Janna trying to ward here is going to be painful. Janna's gone for the rushed Ardent Sensor, which does mean that Tristana's in a very great point of power. Kind of feels like 2.5 items with the core already complete, but KSV are probably sitting there and saying, my kingdom for the team fight that they haven't had in 2 games. People keep getting caught. There will be no 5v5 that clearly they've drafted for.
Score with the extra gold he picked up. Just going to add some more control wards. A true jungler, as he will help out his team with the vision. We have the Baron up, and with double Infernal, they certainly can take it very fast with the Rise and the Fed Kha'Zix.
Vision control, not where they need it to be, though. Nothing aggressive. We can see also that we know there is KSV vision that's around the area, so until they can start pushing you into inner tower, it's not going to feel too comfortable to make a Baron play. Smeb has decided to go for the I will never die build of getting a Warmonks. Not actually that common to pick up on Sion because he gets so much free health from his W, but the reason why we see so much Warmonks in competitive play is that, especially on junglers, but even relevant here, is it allows you to start Baron and basically risk nothing. You walk up to Baron, either they contest it or you get the Baron, and if they contest it, you back away. Warmonk's passive kicks in, and you're going to be very healthy. The same is true in a siege. Sion of pure tanks is pretty damn good in a siege with Roar of the Slayer to harass, and also the potential to just tank it up with the Soul Furnace, the W. So providing options here with the Warmonk. Starts to walk up. The traps go down, and KT just trying to make the map very narrow for the side of KSV.
Pawn getting more and more greedy and aggressive with this push up on the top side. He's putting down as deep a ward as he possibly can, checking with his Q initially, and putting tons of pressure up there, forcing Crown to respond at the moment as they push in the mid lane.
How aggressively going to take this? Smeb walks up. For now, they're only zoning. Going to take about 2 more minion waves on that pace to finish as QV's in position.
Yeah, they want to force this here, but doesn't look like they can.
What does the force look like? If the Unbreakable is up, Sejuani's not going to be enough solo. Yeah. The Zoe is needed to have an extra threat in this area, but she's wave clearing topside. Rise drawing a Zoe away. It's fantastic to talk about. That's what we call a Shiv headshot crit.
And he stood on a trap.
Yep.
He took it, and now look at Score on the right side, but look at QV just disappearing in the front, thinking he's tanky enough to tank up 4 members, but that's way too much CC with the Braum, with the Caitlyn, the Sion especially. You're not getting away from that.
QV walks up, no one is backing him up. The Janna is trying to channel the ultimate, mostly to help out Ruler and to give her team-wide Ardent Sensor. Just doesn't matter at this stage, Valdez. Another extension of Game 1, it feels like, is Game 2. This funk that KSV is in doesn't look any closer to ending. Now, I remember their first match back after losing to Kongnu Monster was against MVP, and that was the map where they took 5 initiators and started. We saw Ruler on Tristana jumping in with the Dazzle to make plays. And then you have games like this where Ambition missed a couple of ultimates, so he starts to back away. QV's in the front, but here you see Score coming around the side. Janna has already used her ultimate. There's nothing they can do. They just watch as objectives roll down, and so short of inspiration. Who or what will prove to be the muse for KSV to actually level up? Because if they continue to play like this, there's 5 or 6 teams in the LCK that can beat this level of KSV.
Yeah. We talked a little bit earlier on about how the overall level of LCK is going up and up. Teams across the board are getting better, especially at the top. So teams like KSV struggling a bit, but can they afford to struggle when it comes down to it, when you have so much competition? It's kind of funny to watch Ambition on the Sejuani, not just about Ambition, but about Sejuani against this kind of composition. You got the Braum Caitlyn, you step on a trap, you're trying to engage, you get locked up, there's a ton of CC, you have the Unbreakable in the front. What exactly are you doing on the Sejuani? You're just kind of sitting there.
Ruler actually was face-checking KT somehow and takes a bit of damage, will not die. I take your point, Valdez, and You know the feeling of a Sejuani player is you're only as good as your last ultimate. The last ultimate was into a Braum with shield up, so it did absolutely nothing and accelerated the second Infernal Drake going the way of KT. So now you feel extra accountable for your next ultimate. And as you're thinking through all these things, KT have just walked up and headshot a couple of people, taken a couple of turrets, and you're losing objectives. So KSV, it's not quite desperation time. It's not that far away.
Yeah, look at this. It's just the slow grind here for KSV as they take hit after hit. The siege is incredible out of KT. Very similar composition this time without Malzahar.
Pawn has gone for the I want to side lane forever build. Banshee Veil after Seraphs. So far, so good.
Kill me.
Nope.
A lot of members that can say that on the side of KT right now. Trouble Bubble will finally hit here. Let's see if they get a bit of damage. Mata not going to go unbreakable.
Meanwhile,
yeah, Ruler getting low. Deft in the face of danger, just trying to shoot everybody down. But here it is, the flash forward, but he still hits the Braum. It's going to be enough to get the Braum at least this time around. Sad day for Sejuani, but at least he's able to find a kill.
It gets the single kill because Pawn was not able to rotate fast enough, but it's just a kill. What does it mean? Does it mean a Baron threat? First thought is no, but they can teleport onto the Baron. 25 seconds till Mata is alive. Pawn is just counter jungling because he feels safe enough to be able to disengage around the Baron. No wards around it. So will they get ward control in their red side jungle? Will they threaten something here? Will KSV? First instinct is no, and this is the first good news story they've had all game. We're going to see the replay here. They walk up. Notice that Rise has no interest in joining. The moment that Score is hit by a Trouble Bubble, you could fully disengage if you're KT, but the engage starts for QV. The ultimate pop to get the Ardent Sensor rolling onto Ruler and to also heal up the Cho'Gath. They chase in, is take down Mata, closest target. It's still 1 for 0, but it's 1 for 0 and nothing else. Score wants to assassinate Zoe.
Well, he may just be able to do that. Trouble Bubble's going to come in, but Rise wants to say something about it, going to lock him down, but the rest of KSV is here. No Sejuani ultimate just yet, and the Trouble Bubble is just barely going to miss. And so they cannot follow up, even after the very aggressive play from KT. A couple of flashes lost, though, by Pawn and Score.
They have to stop Baron here and force the answering teleport from Smeb. Smeb's just wave clearing in the bot side. It's time for KSV to roll the dice. They've tried to play loss minimization for the better part of 70 minutes of League of Legends in this series, and it's found them nothing. Their teleport is down, but you notice they're not starting the Baron. They don't feel strong enough to do that. Stana went back to buy another item. They move back and reassess, but they continue to not move their position really forward, apart from a bit of vision to spot the direction that KT are going to start rotating. Seeing the damage charts, predictable that Caitlyn is doing so well. We definitely haven't crested the time that Ruler gets going, but the items have. He is at 3 items, a second BF sword, and also Core JJ in his pocket. So a lot to like about what Ruler will be able to do in team fights if he can find a way past the Scion.
That's really the question. We are going to have this Cloud Drake take in, which means that Elder will be next. Will be nice with the 3 Drakes they've already taken so far in this series. Cloud will help a little bit.
They also wanted to spawn as fast as possible because they want a second place to stop KSV from being able to turtle on one side of the map. Force a win condition in top and bot side because they have great turtle here, do KSV. You're so scared to start Baron because unless you can stop both Ambition and QV making it into the pit, both of them are able to contest the smite coming through from the Kha'Zix. So a moving battlefield between top and bot lane for the Baron is one thing, and just pushing in a long lane is great as well once the trap line can be set up.
KT grasping control of this game once again.
Not really in gold, though. There's only 3,000 gold, and we still haven't seen the value of a farmed Tristana or a farmed Zoe.
I like Score's position in these fights towards mid lane. The slow comes down onto Ruler. I think they're looking for the
Score.
It could be onto Crown too. There it is. A couple of moves and down she goes. Disappears, does the Zoe, and it might not just be her, the Cho'Gath. Also, Kive not able to get out of there. Locked up. Make that a couple of kills. Some poke from the left side, and then Score coming in for the alley-oop.
They surprised them with aggression there. Score went in. They weren't expecting him to go into a grouped fight. Ambition threw his ult out after 2 people were already dead because he thought he was the one flanking and threatening from one side. They're turning onto Ruler, but a lot of damage onto Deft.
Cheek Scion from the top side too. saying, hey, get away from my Caitlyn. They're going to start the Baron here. Ambition still alive with the smite.
Smeb's going to go for the interrupt. He's in the back line. He doesn't take damage, as we know.
Well, they're going to lock down Ambition here, who charges into a Scion. Maybe not the best idea. Look at that backline damage, though. Trying to get on in there. It's not enough, as Ambition will eventually go down. KT too low to continue on the Baron, but they scoop up another kill.
And while Ruler does damage, he can't fight front to back because QV was dead that time. They haven't been able to actually get fights because KT aren't engineering them. Score was the MVP in that last fight. Actually making something of being a Fed Kha'Zix, because Kha'Zix in team fights, we know that it's hard to engineer. He shows ultra aggression to go in the face of someone like QV, who feasts him for 80% of his health in just the start. But by the time Ambition responds to the aggression from Score, it's too late. They've already lost the team fight. They don't lose the Baron from it just yet. But you see that Sejuani still hasn't respawned. KT is going to go back. Keep pushing up the lane. Still teleport available on Smeb and not on QV.
Yeah. And the way that Crown took that damage too was half his health. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of shield damage. Okay.
I'm checking out the sick build coming through from Pawn.
Oh boy.
The double Banshee Veil. Guys, this build is literally, I'm going to walk up to Sejuani, Cho'Gath, and Zoe. Definitely Zoe or Cho'Gath in the side lane and just push a turret next to them.
Okay, Ambition is going to be slowed up. That's a little slow from the Kha'Zix, who nearly disappears before our very eyes. But Crown has to be very careful, because if Deft has a headshot available with this passive and he tries to push forward with the portal jump, he's just going to lose half his health. And that's part of what started that last fight. Definitely will take some opportunity away from Crown.
And good news, KT's found a second tank. It's Tank Rise. That's really all he is in this build. He has very little, he's decent damage, obviously, but probably going to sell the stopwatch for, could be Azonians, just to be more of a tank. Could get a Void Staff and do some damage, but this is basically side lane and front line Rise. Score himself working towards a Black Cleaver, staying on the damage route. We see Smeb in this brush on the flank often, but it is, of course, the Scion this time.
We're getting to a point in the game where even Cho'Gath is an option. But here it is. The ultimate comes forward and hits the Braum again.
He's dead.
Blow him up. Nicely done. And Smeb coming forward with Score, but it's not necessarily enough to get into one down here. Steph, though, lots of room on the left side. Takes out Ambition, but down goes Smeb at the same time. Score coming in for the assassination. Not enough as Crown gets away, but still.
Deft.
Okay, he's trying to 1v1, and Ruler's going to win that. The Scion passive is not enough to get him. A Pawn coming in to clean up the kill. What a close fight. Only 2 members remain on the side of KT.
Starting to see the potential of KSV when Ruler can free auto. It's a lot of kills in a burst. You mentioned that Cho'Gath was looking susceptible. Same story for the Scion and the Braum as well, but not actually able to stay alive and start pushing out lanes. So all QV's going to do is amble to the bot side. We still didn't see any value of the Paddle Star, unless I missed an interaction or a chunk out earlier. Here's a Realm Warp. They're going for a cheeky Baron, 2-man. It's going to take a while.
They know about it because he actually Realm Warped on a ward, I think. The TP's coming in. See the control ward in the ward in mid, actually. He must have Realm Warped from there because he had his own control ward, but...
Does get a teleport out of QV again, so another teleport advantage for KT. Smeb doesn't really have any turret threat whatsoever. I don't believe he has Demolish, but I could be wrong on that one.
He's got the potential. Sold the second Banshee's Veil. There you go, Pawn. Picked up a Morellonomicon.
His New Age build has been rolled back for a little bit. Still was useful in the fight to be just, a sack of health and magic resist, basically, and do some decent ability power. But now, of course, min-maxing on damage more.
Uh-oh. Ruler forced to hop away.
It's actually quite difficult for Smeb to interrupt the rocket jump. Only the ultimate and the full channel of the Decimating Smash does that, so able to play with fire. Crown's starting to do relevant damage. He has the Void Staff a lot earlier in this game. It was much later in game 1, you'll remember.
Exchanging crits just to heal up on the minion wave. But Ruler, as we noticed in that last fight too, it's not just Crown, but relevant damage is coming in from both sides. We're hitting that 40-minute point when people are beginning to get full builds on both sides.
I mean, Ruler is super tanky as well. He's getting massive shields from the Zephyr Janna and also the Bloodthirst to overshield.
That Gathering Storm on the Janna is about to hit 40 minutes here.
Gathering Storm available on Deft as well. No Gathering Storm on Ruler. May or may not be relevant. Very hard to match the damage output with Janna being able to amp it up. Basically a pocket Gathering Storm of her own for the Tristana. All right, so Rise top side with Kha'Zix shadowing. They know they can't draw the entire team of KSV top side, so Kha'Zix being there is enough. They take another turret. Realm Warp available.
He's just going to keep pushing.
For
Nobody's
now.
responding. Finally they will, but the Living Ward and score is going to be enough to spot Kive. Says hello. How do you do, gentlemen? I'm going to turn onto the Cho'Gath, but generally not a good idea.
It's very strong language you're using. Turn onto the Cho'Gath. They don't really do any damage right now.
Yeah.
The Cho. But it's another turret that rolls down. If you notice, KSV have only taken 2 in this entire game. And the Elder Dragon has spawned. So suddenly, there's a lot of different options available for KT, depending on how they want to play this one out.
That goes through the Braum, and they're going to expend the ultimate here. The flash comes in just at the last second to get away from that Paddle Star that might have chunked him down, but not. Ambition sitting on a trap, forced to flash away. Now it's Cuve's turn. There's the full channel with a huge stun coming in. Uh-oh, score nearly goes down, but they do get the kill. On to Cuve here, finally, at the end of it all.
So much control with the consistent CC from Smeb, and also the ultimate and concussive blows being available from Braum means they eventually, and eventually is the right word, take down one member. While Baron has been well defended, this is the thing that happens when you can spawn a high-value Elder early in the game. We know KSV doesn't have vision in this area, so they can turn on to Elder. There's not going to be a serious contest, and KT get a big win. It's not the Baron they crave, but it's pretty close.
It's a great pickup here. They've got a bunch of gold from the last 5 or so minutes, too, so everybody's going to go back and buy some control wards, no doubt. Just clear things up. But let's take another look at how this started.
Just a bit of damage onto Ambition to start it. KSV move forward, and when the Unbreakable goes down, you think maybe this is going to be something to take down Mata, who eats another ultimate. Ambition has definitely been trying to take him down at every opportunity. But there's no threat onto Deft. There's no ability for Cuve to get into the fight because there's 800 turrets and different CCs interrupting him every time he actually tries to show threat onto Deft. The only way we saw a Cho'Gath in the backline was game 2 for Kongnu Monster, going for a flank teleport. That sort of a play impossible in that scenario, so the Cho'Gath really unable to do too much. Then they need to find a plan where they actually just feast on the close target on Smeb and try to DPS him down. It's going to be a significant chunk even onto the Scion, but the dream of having him do relevant damage to the backline is dead for the Cho'Gath.
How does KT approach forcing a fight with the Elder without getting out of position? Again, they might not force it, but they'll look for more objectives. Seems like this very weak tier 2 in mid lane is going to be the option for them. So they take that out. They get a lot more vision towards the middle of the map here.
The Pawn takes 1 round of damage and already at half health. Seeing Score going to use his time to start clearing vision, but even with Elder, it doesn't really advance the position. The extra damage might mean they're a bit more competitive compared to the power we've already seen out of Ruler.
Ambition playing with fire there. It's always scary when you get a full charged up stun from Scion.
Do notice only 40 seconds on the Elder Dragon timer. Of course, a shorter buff than the Baron.
Deft is, he's starting it. Okay,
he
he's
does
just
so
doing
much
it.
damage.
Look at how much he chunks it. Smeb's going to be on the duty of trying to zone them out, but he's all alone. He's forced to flash away now.
He'll just actually ult away from the Trouble Bubble actually arming. Scores in backlines. He's looking for Core JJ. If he can get Core JJ, that'd be so big for the team, but just powers through.
Yeah, they saw him. The Kive actually saw him on his way back, or maybe Ambition. And then he went over a control ward.
The best target for Score, ironically, is the Janna. If he can one-shot Janna, then that's the most thing is they continue to play the Daisy Do, the Yakety Sax, and they're back on the Baron. It's gonna die.
Should be enough. Not able to get there in time. The Smite comes in and Pawn picks up the Baron. of all people.
Man, that was some real sleight of hand. That was Kha'Zix being like, hey, I'm over here.
Yeah.
And they just trained down the Baron in all of it. KSV will feel like they had their lunch money pinched away in that particular regard because they were doing such a good job of defending. But the Elder Dragon did, in a roundabout way, eventually turn into the Baron for the side of KT Rolster. They need a Baron to actually break down the inhibitor turrets with how much ranged wave clear is available from KSV and just threat from all the members of KSV being able to answer KT in narrow corridors. We return to the same scene of the crime, pushing through mid lane. But Kha'Zix is actually going to take position of the side lane in order to start pushing up multiple lanes.
Yeah, especially when you got a Braum in your lineup, the amount of disengage that you have against a composition like KSV's is very nice. So even if KSV grouped up as 5 in mid lane and really tried to force it, it will be hard to really capitalize on that position. So 3 in the mid lane, Kha'Zix up top, Rise in the bottom side, 1-3-1. See how many inhibitors and objectives KT can get.
Then Mata and Smeb on catching duty for any sort of QSS. Oh, sorry, any sort of strong engage, because no QSS onto Deft. We know that he prefers to avoid those builds wherever possible, and his frontline has been so robust that for 45 minutes he hasn't needed a cleanse in this game. Doesn't have the flexibility of the Unsealed Spellbook that he took in the previous game. Pawn continues to play a side lane. Does have the Void Staff, so now he's also a damage threat himself.
3 lanes being pushed in all at the same time. Score versus Ambition in the top, 3 versus 3 in mid.
Yeah, just trying to ignore Ambition's damage, but Ambition does a decent amount. Half the turret HP get down in top, more than half in mid lane.
Look at the shield on Ruler. So far, it hasn't really mattered in this game, although he hasn't died, so that is something.
Or the creative trap locations to go for extra headshots here. Turret will eventually roll down. We're not going to see a hard engage by KSV.
Shield's even coming in. Kive steps on trap after trap and takes damage, but Smeb, same can be said for him against the Zoe.
The good old Warmogs will be the answer there, Valdez. Somehow the scenes are so similar to what we saw in Game 1, even after the big player change of Haru out and Ambition in. KSV would have hoped they would have 2 weapons, but sadly their junglers are starting to normalize in a way that doesn't help the scenario in either way. There is the first inhibitor turret going down.
Ooh, Ruler eating the headshot through the shields, mind you.
Yep.
As they poke on through. This Zoe against the Zoe again. The 2-shot.
Dead.
Down he goes. See you later. And that might just be it. They don't have a damage threat now outside of the Zoe. And with the Baron buff, 17 seconds will be enough. KT, they're pushing in. They're going to get the second inhibitor, make that a third on the bottom side. Def's still healthy, and no shot for KSV unless they can get a miracle pick at this point.
Just feels like everyone else is stargazing on the side of KSV. They need Ruler to be the wave clear, but if you're not body blocking, if you're not disrupting, you're not doing much. And like you say, KT just want to end it.
They're going to go for it. At this point, dead timer's too long. That's going to be the first turret. Lots of members on KSV desperately trying to push them away. They want to get onto Def, but they just absolutely cannot. And it is going to be enough. They pick off the Zoe. That last damage goes down, and that's going to do it. KT just playing with their food at this point. Down goes the Nexus, and the 2-0 victory for KT comes through.
Big win for KT Rolster. They end the first round robin 7-2. Maybe enough to guarantee them second. They cannot get game score ahead of Kingzone Dragon X. And of course, the Freak of Freaks also going to be in a great spot when it comes to top 3. We now know our top 3. It will be Kingzone, Afrika, and KT Rolster at the end of the first round robin. The placings will be determined in future matches, but you see the claps and happiness from KT Rolster from Smeb on your screen. Both games rolled through kind of as expected from KT, much more passive than we would have imagined. What you can say is there were very little passages of time in what? It felt like almost 2 hours of gameplay where KSV had their destiny in their hands, where they were actually making things happen. This passivity from KSV, which is kind of the ironic calling card in their victories, is now basically the thing they have to address in their losses. They all look bemused. No one here, coach included, you'd have to say, with how many performances in a row have been so similar, seems to have the tonic. No smiles from the side of KSV. No difference from Ambition to Haru in the jungle. A lot needs to be worked on with KSV, otherwise this may be the new norm. Mediocrity.
I love the draft from KT too. We were talking a bit about Sejuani and her role, especially against the Braum. And KT, they ban all these different AD carries, the Kalista, the Varus, the Xayah. They take so much away from Ruler. They force him onto Tristana. And then they first pick the Caitlyn for that fantastic siege, and then they let KSV pick the Sejuani. Second round, KT picks up Braum. And from there, I mean, Motto is having a really fun game against Sejuani. He's like, ult me. I dare you, over and over, and that's exactly what happened.
Watch this replay. It's a headshot from the trap. Ruler stepped on a trap. I guess, I mean, Core JJ actually had the Mikhail's Crucible. I guess it was late, but of course that's not going to cancel the effect of the first auto getting the trap bonus. So 2 shots there, a trap auto, and then just a headshot crit and death onto Ruler, and the game decided from there. I mean, KSV will wonder what if he hadn't stepped on the trap, but they didn't look like they were going to win from it, Valdez. I don't think it would have changed the game. There's a big smile from Deft, who's had a much better showing. This is the Deft that looked like such a threat on first Samsung Blue, then EDG over in China. This is what the fans have been looking for. Not necessarily the aggression they may want from KT Rolster, but they'll take it 2-0 over KSV any day of the week.
Well, I certainly like his Caitlyn.
Oh.
He doesn't get into trouble. His siege is unbelievable. He's always got the perfect position with this Caitlyn. And,
he did about 45% of the team's damage as well. 70,000 damage from Caitlyn. We knew the number would be high because the laning phase was going to be kind, but then Tristana Jana was getting away with the scale and the gathering storm. It was coming, it was coming. 2 orders later, the storm was gone. It was a bright, sunny day for KT Rolster. Very drawn-out game, you know, around a 5K gold lead from, what, 27 minutes to the better part of 42. But from there, an eventual closeout, Elder into Baron, score, and his team fight on Kha'Zix. Not normally we think about. He was fed, so he was able to get in there, be a bit more opportunistic with the Kha'Zix. Good team performance from KT Rolster, and for KSV. No one person to point your fingers at. It's kind of the entire squad that's out of sync and not convincing.
It's rough, you know. You really got to go back to the drawing board. And I'm sure they have a lot, losing to Rox and to KT like they did, and even almost losing to BBQ.
Almost losing to Afrika 2-0 earlier in the season before Afrika even got going.
It's not like things are smooth sailing for KSV at all. They have a lot to work on.
They're actually a very fortunate. They're going to end at 5-3. Sorry, 5-4 in the first round. It could have been 4 and 5. It could have been 3 and 6. They were actually close to losing 2 series. So KSV's hangover after being world champions is now something we have to talk about, cemented when they're so close to a 50% win rate in the first round robin. Other teams changed their parts. KSV stayed strong. They stayed with the same squad. So far, it hasn't been enough, and the MVP is going to be Deft. Look at that love he's giving to the crowd, giving to the fans. It's his 5th year anniversary as a pro player. And right now, Deft is looking just as good as he has at really any other point in his career. And for a guy who's had the peaks of Deft, that's a big compliment.
The Terror's damage, he will show it to you. The literal translation, and I suppose he did exactly that. He's got a lot of these deserved MVPs. We're going to get another cute interview from him, as we always do.
I'm sure he'll have lots to say. He never has anything to say, like guys.
50% of the damage in that game as well. So let's go over to the interview. I'll hand you over to Jisun for the translation.
KSV가 포크에 들어오는 것을 저지하며 오늘 2대0 승리를 이끌었습니다. 자, 오늘 승리의 주역이죠. 폰 선수, 그리고 데뷔 5주년을 맞은 데프트 선수가 여러분을 기다리고 있습니다. 함께 만나보시죠.
Hi everybody, this is Kester Song, and today KT Rolster got 2-0 victory against KSV. Congratulations on your victory. Juan, you showed a great performance in the first set. And the monitor behind you is so amazed that it's just white all over.
오늘이 저희가 했던 경기 중에 좀
I think today was the cleanest game of this split.
그러니까요. 이게 보는 사람들이 막 숨이 턱턱 막힌다는 얘기를 굉장히 많이 했었고 그런 궁금증도 있더라고요. 이제 보통 이제
And there's a question
표현 많이
about
쓰잖아요.
that
이 브랜드가 어느 브랜드냐? 이런
KT
얘기를
is
했어요.
back
X
in the
브랜드냐,
former
무슨
Samsung
얘기냐면
White style of
이게
macro,
스멜
right?
얘기냐, 마타 얘기냐,
Is
뭐 이런 얘기
it
있더라고요. 이
from
브랜드에
Samsung White
따라서
or
탈수기
the
브랜드들이 좀
SMAP from
달라라는
the
얘기 좀
former
들었거든요.
Rocks?
어느 브랜드였어요 이번 탈수기는?
I think it's all from SMAP and Mata. Their macros and their shot calls are so good.
생각이 좀 드는데 어떻습니까? 지금 그 중간중간에 내용들이 좀 굉장히 좀 많았었는데 특히나 8.2 때 그 너프됐던 그 말자.
And Malzahar was
이거
nerfed in the
조이선들은 좀
8.2
어려운 거 아니야?
patch.
그리고 뭐 몇몇 사람들은 뭐 그만하자 뭐 이런 얘기도 좀 있었잖아요.
So why did you pick
여기에 대해서는
Malzahar against Zoe today?
그냥 선택을 했더라고요.
조이 상대로는 말자가 좋은 픽으로
I
많이
think it's
알려져
like some sort of counter pick against Zoe. So I was sure that I could get some leading points against Zoe in the laning phase.
포인트도 좀 많이 쌓였던 것 같은데 약간 욕심 날 것
So
같아요.
you have a lot of MVP points, you know.
너무 많이 받는 것 같아서
How do you feel?
저는 무조건
Well, actually, I think Deft is getting MVP a lot. So yeah, I'm kind of jealous.
선수 만나보겠습니다. 승리 축하하겠습니다.
So congratulations on your victory,
얼마
Deft.
전에 5주년이었죠?
And yesterday was your
팬 여러분들께서
5th
굉장히
anniversary as a
많이
pro player,
오시면서
right?
지금 사진까지 막 찍을 준비를 하고 계시는데 축하를 많이 하고 해주시는 것 같아요. 아주 뭐 그렇다고
No,
해서
there's a lot of crowds out here to
오셨는데
support for
양분을
you.
말씀해 주신다면요.
Is there anything you want to say to them?
뭔가 좀 과분하게 많이 응원을 받고 있는 것 같아서
I just want to say I'm so thankful for all the support and love. So I'm gonna be more responsible for your support.
그러니까 오늘 사실 그 데프 선수가 MVP를 탈 것 같아가지고 좀 찾아봤어요. 어떻게 하면 뭔가 좀 좋은 게 있을까. 근데 그거 알아요 혹시? 홍천이
Did you know that the Hongchan, the homeland of Bang, is homeland of AD carry, right?
알파카월드가 있대요.
Because there's an alpaca world located in Hongcheon province in Korea. Did you know?
저는 얼마 전에 다녀왔어요.
가지 않았어요.
Well, I recently went there
팀원들이랑 같이
with my
어땠어요
teammates.
거기?
네. 좀 닮은 것 같기도 하고.
Well, I think we kind of look alike, me and alpaca.
뭐 그런 얘기를 좀 말씀해 주신 것 같은데 어떻습니까? 오늘 경기를 펼친데 케이틀린에 대해서 오늘은 이렇게 약간 지금 어떻게 보면 데프트
So
선수가
today you
천천히
played
많이 하지만
Caitlyn as a AD
경기에
carry,
대해서 굉장히 적극적인
and
장면들을 많이
I mean you
보여줬는데 오늘 케이틀린
were very
선수는 좀
aggressive
어땠나요?
throughout the game. How was this match overall?
그냥 라인전에서 딱히 사고가 일어나지 않으면은 제가
Well, as I said before, I think Caitlyn is the kind of champion that I can carry the whole game if there's just no big trouble in the laning phase.
있었는데 특히 그 스맵 선수에 관련된 궁금증들도 많이 올라왔거든요.
And there's one thing we all know is about SMAP. When he picked Zion, we saw SMAP laughing, and also the coaches and score.
경호 형이 그 1레벨 이상한 짓 하는 거를 좋아해서
I mean, SMAP always wants to try some weird stuff in the level 1 science, so we just wanted to stop it. Well, he kind of prepared it, but yeah, today it just didn't work out.
사실 그 스맵 선수가 16 올스타 때 저는 굉장히 좋은 모습을 보였었는데 지난 그 락스 있었을 때 좀 아쉬운 장면이 있어가지고
Yeah, even when he was in Rock Tigers, he wasn't really good, like that good in Zion, right?
뭐 경기에서 사실 폰 선수가
So
워낙
from
잘을
today's game,
이용해서
I mean, Pon, you are always like put a lot of effort on setting up your computer, right?
본인이 생각하는 최적의 센티미터는 몇 센티미터입니까?
So what's your method?
좀 이상한데 그 질문이.
Well, I think this question's quite awkward.
저는 진짜 엄청 이상하게 해서 그 모니터를 오른쪽으로
Well,
돌리고
yeah, I kind of tilt the monitor in the right side a bit.
틀는 장면이 있으니까.
네, 재는 게 좀 저랑 뭐 똑같이 해도 안 되긴
So
할것 같아서.
I don't know if it will fit for all the other players.
저는 일단 18cm 좋아해요.
Well, so I prefer 18 and 18 centimeter away from me. That's my information.
그리고 뭐 데프트 선수 같은 경우는 오늘 경기 안에서도 좀 많이 좀 더워하는 모습들이 있었어요. 뭐 데프트 선수도
And the gaming booth seems to be a little bit hot for the players.
원래 에어컨을 끄고 해서
Well, we just turned the AC off while we were playing the game, so we just keep it kind of warm because our hands might freeze during the game. I guess we were kind of concentrating a lot, so yeah, we just felt a little bit hot, but it was okay. Then let's check out some clips from highlights.
자, 최고의 플레이 먼저 폰 선수의 장면이 되겠습니다.
So
자,
this one is for
말자로 전화기.
pawn.
일단 두 선수 중에 하나를 한번 노렸던 장면이 있었는데요. 어땠어요 이 장면?
So tell us about the situation. Yeah, it was Mada's shot call. He told me to roam to the
이
bot lane.
장면은 뒤에서 돌아오던 휴배를 보는 장면이었죠. 네. 아주 황홀할 정도로 아주 딱딱딱 맞아 떨어지는 장면들이
So it was an
있었는데
impressive
1세트에는
play
정말
from
만족감을
you on
드러낼 만큼
Malzahar.
굉장히 잘 풀렸거든요.
네, 이 경기가 저희가 여태까지 했던 것 중에 제일
Yeah, I think the first set was the most perfect game from KT Rolster of this split.
기억나는
뭔가 뭐 한 가지를 뽑기보다는 그냥 전체적으로 다
Yeah, just overall
유기적으로 잘
and organically, like
게임 끝나고
just
나서
we're just all satisfied with our plays.
그래서 그런지 2세트 분위기도 굉장히 잘 흘러갔습니다. 그래서 그 멋진 장면 역시 뎁
Then
선수가
let's check out the
만나보는데
highlights
이제
from
두 번째
the
세트.
game two.
장면 만나볼까요? 자, 뎁 선수의 최고의 플레이를 한번
So this
만나보겠습니다.
is the play of the game from Dev.
요거
That damage, right?
눌러 잡자마자 이렇게 되는 거. 이건 계산 하나에 딱 붙었던
Was that planned?
상대편 움직임을 예상하면서.
딱히 밟으라고 딴 건 아니긴
Well, I
한데
actually didn't
네.
mean to, like, I didn't expect Roller to step on it, but I was just trying to take down the inhibitor.
플레이라고 할게요.
But maybe I was lucky or maybe I was planning on it.
예상은 어느 정도 했었던 그 움직임 속에 상대편을 잡았던 아주 멋진 장면들이 있었습니다.
Anyway, it was a great play, right? So
잘 풀어내긴 했는데 2세트 때는 약간
in the second
긴장을
game,
했던 것 같아요.
I think Pawn was a little bit nervous, right?
저랑 저기
네.
좀 조합이 엄청 좋았어가지고
Yeah, the opposite composition was really strong in the late game. So yeah, I have to keep focused and a little bit frustrated because
네네.
yeah, my item buildup was kind of like,
그러니까
had some mistakes.
바로바로 중도를 하면서 경기를 풀어냈으니까
but yeah,
그만큼 긴장감
it was
넘치는
just
경기였던
lucky
것
that I
같은데
didn't make
참
bigger
KT가
one.
사실 이런 운영을 팬들이 굉장히 기대했거든요. 그리고 실제로 경기를 또 보여주셨고 이제 2라운드 얼마 남지 않은 이런
So,
상황이고 이제
second
점점
round is around the corner.
고정되고 있는 상황이잖아요.
And a lot of
두
fans are
선수 모두
expecting
KT의 이 흐름들을
greater plays from
유지한다면
you guys.
분명히 확실하게 목표를 더 높게 잡으면서 경기를 풀어보고 싶을 것 같은데
So
어떻습니까?
what is your goal for the second round?
2라운드는 이제 1라운드가 끝났는데 2라운드에서 저희 위에 있는 두 팀을
So,
확실하게 잡아내고
I just wanna take down the two
그렇습니다.
teams
본
that are
선수의
above
멋진
us.
플레이, 우리 모니터를 멀게 할 만큼 멋진 후광 넘치는 이런 플레이.
So thank you for the great plays
멋진
today
플레이 한번 또 기대해 보도록
and a
하겠습니다.
great interview.
한번 더 좀 부탁드릴게요. 워낙 지금
And
오늘 굉장히
once
많은
again,
팬들이 중국에서도 오셨고
I mean,
전
there
세계적으로
is
굉장히
really
많이
a
오셔가지고
great amount of
뎁 선수
fans to
오준을 좀
support you
축하해주셨거든요.
and celebrate your
해외
5th year
팬들에게
anniversary.
굉장히
Is there anything you
한
wanna
말씀
say
해주실
to
것
your
같아요.
fans, global fans?
섞어서 말씀하셔도 상관없어요.
한국말로
한국말
Can I say it in Korea?
저희가 작업
Of course,
쳐드릴게요.
yes.
제가 일단 중국 팬분들이 굉장히 많이 찾아주시는데
Yeah, I think today a lot of Chinese fans came
올해가
support
이제
me.
중국을 떠난 지 조금 1년이 넘었는데
And it's been a while since I left China, but I just want to thank you for supporting me always.
올해는 꼭
And today, this year,
월드컵도 잘
I will make sure that we're gonna make it to the Worlds and get better results.
열심히 하겠습니다.
그렇습니다.
Next year. Thank you.
한마디 한마디 팬들에게 전달하시는 그런 말씀까지 전해 들었습니다. 자, 태국 선수 그리고 폰 선수가 멋진 경기를 펼치면서 2대0 KT가
So it was a great performance from Deft and Pawn, and they got 2-0 victory today. So this will be the end of the interview, and I'll hand it back to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji-sun, for the translation, as always. And we're going to take a look at some of these highlights. Interesting interaction there with the Monsoon, pushing him over and actually hitting him in the end after the flash. Hubei gets caught out here, and it was just the beginning of KSV's woes in this game.
There's so many small mistakes from KSV when they could never get a foothold in two different games of League of Legends. On the one hand, KT Rolster sort of ordered play that their fans were desperate for. In previous years, they were unable to do due to some inconsistent shot calling with Mada as their primary shot caller. Now Mada and Smeb seem to have worked out some of the kinks there. It seems like as a duo, they're able to navigate. I would assume it's Mada in the mid game and then Deft in the late, Smeb in the late game when it comes to the shot calls. But they seem clearer in identity. This game, they just played very ordered League of Legends, able to take out Ambition multiple times. But I can't help but be more excited about the other side, where we have KSV, a proud team who are really, really struggling. And I don't really have good advice as to how they can really play through this struggle. It feels like their old fullbacks are not working for them, kind of like SKT, and their mid to late game scaling comps were not working, so they went ultra early game. As I said in Champ Select, I want to see Crown on Galio. I want to see some really powerful early game picks, because I think just working with what worked before clearly is not going to work for KSV, especially against the better teams. So you're going to have a couple of games in the second round robin that you're going to come in heavily favored. Try something new, because you're maybe still likely to make it to best of 5 stage. You're going to need multiple tricks, because the shield trick is not going to be enough.
That will now. Let's take a look at today's results. If you guys were watching, you'll kind of know that it was 2 slower played out games over 44 and 47 minutes. And well done by KT, definitely earning their spot up in the top 3. Very curious to see some of these games later on against from the top 3 teams and how they play against each other. And another big question, will SKT make their way back with their new lineup? Struggling a little bit today against Kongdu, losing 1 game. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. All these questions to be answered, and here are the standings.
I feel like the standings are starting to shake out a little bit, in that I feel like the first 3 teams are significantly ahead of the next 3. I feel like Kingzone, KT Rolster, and Afrika are the 3 strongest teams we have in Korea, and Afrika could also be moving to higher than KT Rolster if they win their next match by any score. They will be ahead of KT. That's just the first round robin. From there, KSV, ROX, SKT, Jin-Air. Ranking those 4 teams is actually very tricky. Notice at the bottom of the table, we have a new 10th place team. It is Kongdu Monster. They may have won a single game today, but not enough to actually arrest their slide. They've slid from top 4 to last.
Let's see if MVP can help them out a little bit, as they will be going up against the ROX Tigers tomorrow over at OGN. We'll see if they can actually take a win over the ROX Tigers, who have really developed a unique strategy for their team. Also, Afrika versus Jin-Air. Definitely an interesting one. Afrika highly favored in that one, as Jin-Air kind of relying on Teddy to do a lot of their damage.
Yeah, 3 really interesting matches, 1 a day. Afrika can go 10-0, I believe, in their win streak. And then we see Kingzone play BBQ, and then we see Kingzone versus Afrika. That could be 16-0 versus 10-0, I believe, when it comes to streaks. We'll see Kingzone, if they do win 2-0 against BBQ, they will be fighting to have the longest win streak in LCK history. They go 2-0, 2-0 this week. They actually break the 17-game record by SKT in 2015.
It's going to be a fun one. I would have to believe that Afrika and Kingzone are going to win their next matchups before that one comes on in. So, also Kongdu versus KSV. I don't even know if that's a guaranteed win for KSV. Kongdu at least looks strong in their second game up against SKT tonight. Definitely not 100% guaranteed in that one.
Small note, guys, it was 2-1 for SKT in our first series today. Getting too excited here. But Kongdu Monster did pick up a game, so like you say, does serve them something in that series against KSV. I'm really excited for the 24th. That match between Kingzone and Afrika, hoping that Afrika had a couple of off-season, or I guess holiday struggles when it comes to personnel, are able to just put them to one side. I want to see Afrika at full strength, because right now we've got Kingzone, but the competitors from there are tumultuous with just how easily Kingzone were able to beat KT.
Yeah, and that day is going to be even more awesome, because before that it's going to be ROX Tigers versus SKT, and I feel like it's the next rung for SKT to try to prove themselves. Like, hey, our new lineup with the rookies is actually working well, especially against ROX Tigers, who may have some new secret strategies planned for 8.3.
It felt like we knew so much about the LCK in the first 2 weeks, and now we know that Kingzone are really good, and we know that MVP and Kongdu are struggling. But the remaining teams, how good is Afrika? How much can they prove? 9 best-of-3s to play in the second round robin. Hey, you, stand down, stand down. But 9 best-of-3s still to go for both these teams. There's so much League of Legends to be played. Really hard to work out where these teams are at.
It's been fun so far, especially with the end of the first round robin. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you once again for watching. We love you. Good night.
일주일의 공백기를 가졌던 LCK, 다시 긴 레이스가 시작이 되었습니다. 앞으로도 변함없는